Oh no, I'm a minute late. Oh no. Whoa, my sound is loop back through. Hello everybody, welcome to Mastermind Academy. Sorry I'm a minute late. I usually try to be right on time at 8 on the dot. Was rushing to eat a Subway sandwich. How's everyone doing tonight? I really got to get an intro going on here so I don't have to fill the first minute or so with random stuff, but I really want to know how everyone's doing tonight. I'm doing good. You know, it's starting to feel like winter again here in Baltimore. It's no longer 70 degrees, which is unfortunate. But you know, it wasn't too cold. We're easing back into the winter time. So today was like, I think it was in the 50s. It got up to 50, so that was pretty cool. By spitting a hot 16. Hey, I mean, I've been known to be one of the greatest shower rappers on the planet. So maybe I will start starting the streams by spitting a hot 16. I think I can do that. We'll do that next time. I'll start the stream. I'll play a little bit of, I'll find some good background music, some good beats to spit to. Maybe that's how we'll start. Who do we have on tonight? We got Karsten. Hey, we got Ari. Winokur, how you doing? Who else is on there? Ready for those data types? Data types. I like it. Tonight's gonna be pretty quick. Tonight's gonna be a lot of you'll be able to ask a lot of questions tonight. We can talk about a lot of other things. We've talked about data types already, but I really wanted to highlight a day to talk about them a little bit farther and to really interact with them, to show the different things you can do with them and just to play with them. Like I think having a good opportunity to take some time to really get to know these things is good, especially for the beginner. So hopefully a lot of this, maybe we've already talked about data types a lot. So hopefully it's not boring to you all, but I do think it's important that we dive in and learn some of these extra little things that we can do. That will definitely help you solve some problems as we get into some problems. I may take some time near the end to get into, we tried to get into exorcism on the DevOps stream last night. We will be using exorcism in this course as well, but I didn't want to introduce it to you just quite yet, but I may introduce it. We might have some time for me to introduce it to you towards the end of this, because again, I think we'll finish up pretty early. Ooh, 9 degrees in Minneapolis. That's pretty cold. I don't like 9-degree weather. So yeah, I came out to a Blacks in Technology conference in Minneapolis, in Twin Cities, and it was super nice when I got there. So this was back in, I think, October, and it was super nice when I got there. It was pretty nice. Like I think it was like low 60s, I believe, and then 2 days later it was snowing. And it was terrible and it was freezing. And I was not prepared. I think all I had was like a thin hoodie, and it was a big mistake. Ooh, so this might be my first host. What's this, Andrew? I don't know if while you're hosting you can see me, but hey, Andrew. Links for slides. Yep, let's get the links for slides out. Let's see here. All that stuff's from last night. Let's get these slides out the way. And for share it, feels a little more familiar this time. Anyone with link can take a look. Copy link. This one's pretty short. Cool, there's a link for the slides. Pull it up, follow along if you need to, but again, we'll give people a few minutes to get on. Again, tonight's going to be pretty chill. This is not the right. This isn't it. Oh, I think I accidentally copied. I got to rename these. I forgot to accidentally switch the names of these. Actually, let's get out of here. Let's get a terminal open. Because of this is pretty chill tonight, I'm probably going to be doing most of this stuff tonight in the interpreter. So remember, the interpreter is that REPL shell they give you when you just type in Python 3. We'll be doing a lot in here. We'll make some files as well, but we'll be doing a lot of stuff in here to show you the concepts of types tonight. So let's get that set up. And I think that's all we need tonight. Tonight is pretty chill. We got on Hey Afrocoder, what's good? Welcome to the stream. Charles the Code. Yo, this is really live, dope. Appreciate that. That's from the first class. Oh, yep, I sent out the wrong one. Sorry. Actually, ignore the first link. Even though you can hear me saying it, I'm gonna type it in here. Let me share this one. Get shareable. Anyone with a link. Taking my mic out of my face. I always have to look around it. People have always asked me, I always get little messages like, oh, why are you always like looking to the right or left? It's because my mic is right in my face. I definitely need to move some things around to get better mic placement. But here is the, oh no, it didn't copy. Hold on. Share. Let's see if we can do this. We're pros. We can do this. We can make this happen. Copy link. Paste it. Boom. Now you have the updated link. Click the second one. The first one is actually slides to the very first one, the very first class. This one is for now. Also running Pop! OS, Chrome or Firefox. So I'm running Chrome. Running Chrome for a number of reasons. I switched back to Firefox for a little while. But there were a few things that Chrome had that I needed. One specific thing was video stream, actually. So being able to get movies from my computer to my Chromecast was nice. Maybe they have it on Firefox, but it's a dumb reason to go back to Chrome. But it's heavy. Chrome's definitely heavy. Eats up a lot of my memory, but I am using Chrome on here. Why is everyone in your chat red except for me? So that is a great question. Maybe one day we'll take a look at this. So I had to write some JavaScript. I pulled it from someone else. There's some custom JavaScript that's supposed to set your name colors. Everyone's name is actually supposed to be a different color, but obviously my script is improper. It's not right. So one day we'll troubleshoot it so that everyone's supposed to get a different color on the color palette. It was supposed to be like a Monakai color scheme, but I actually switched it up a bit because the Monakai color scheme was a little jarring. But yeah, it's supposed to be like 2 or 3 more colors. I'm sorry about that. I'll get that fixed. So it's supposed to set your name color, and then it's supposed to kind of cache it and keep it that way for the whole time, so for easy like reference. As we're going through the videos, it makes it easier when people are kind of following along afterwards to be able to kind of see the flow of conversation. But it's kind of only defaulting to 2 colors. So I did something wrong with my random color picker thing. So sorry about that. Speaking of links, I never got the Google Classroom link for either bootcamp. I sent it out in a couple of emails. Check your spam folders. If not, make sure you join either the Slack or you join the Discord and shoot me a message directly, and I will get you the link to that just so you have everything. Is it open source? I can make it open source. The script that I wrote for that, I can definitely make it open source, and I can get it up in the GitHub, and we can do that. Is it on the stream chat? Is it on the stream chat? Afro Coder. I don't know, maybe that was in response to somebody else. It's different colors on the PS4 Twitch app. If that helps you troubleshoot. It's more than just red and green. Names are different colors. I mean, okay, that's cool. Yeah, maybe that might help actually. Maybe I'll need to check some different apps, but I can see it just being 2. I can just see like on my thing, it's just 2 colors, which is interesting. So yeah, so like the chat on the right, the chat that everyone can see, your names are probably different colors, but when it goes into the one that's actually on the screen, that's actually being recorded, it's just 2. But okay, yeah, that might help for troubleshooting because I'm only seeing 2 as well. But all right, tonight, back into data types, something we've talked about, but we want to drive this point home. This is an introduction to coding. We really want to drive these points home, and although Python is it's not a statically typed language. Although it's an interpreted, dynamically typed language, it's not as loose as something like JavaScript. But it's important to know kind of how these things play together, and kind of what you can do with each of these data types and what you have available to you. It'll really help you to be able to solve problems. It'll also open up your mind to it'll help you start to get to the point where you can know to look for knowing that there are more tools in the toolbox and giving you access to more tools in the toolbox rather than having to build things out yourself. Just going to show you what you have available to you within Python. So same slide you've already seen. I'm hammering it home. Repetition, repetition. It'll really help you memorize a lot of these things and hopefully help you drive home these concepts if you don't already have them. But again, we're gonna say it again. Strings, list of characters. Whenever you see quotes, double quotes, or single quotes in Python, that denotes a string. Quotes equal string, basically. And think words and phrases. Words and sentences are strings. Integers, which are whole numbers. Floats and doubles, which are decimal numbers. Doubles are actually just they're more accurate. They're actually more accurate decimal numbers that actually also offer more memory, I guess, allocation. And then there's Booleans, there's true or false. There are definitely more types. These are the main ones you're gonna need for most of this course. And these are the ones that I just want you to focus on now, because again, there are more things you'll have to hit, but I think this is the base of what I want you to understand. And these are the common types that you're gonna be interacting with most of the time in your workflow. So we'll start here, and once you understand these things, it'll be pretty easy to pick up all the other types that exist besides these. So first thing we're going to talk about tonight is typecasting. And you've heard me say it a bunch of times. I said type coercion, typecasting. This is casting is someone actually said they were basically they were different, and I was using them in the same vein. But I did a little research to see if I could find any true specific differences, and people kind of have varying answers all over the internet. But typecasting is what I've seen most commonly with Python in particular. So what is typecasting? In an untyped language, so in a dynamically typed language where types don't really matter, and a language that has type inferencing, so again, Python will infer what type something is. If we need to specify what type a variable is, how do we do that? And typecasting is how we do that. Typecasting says, hey, interpret this variable as, or it's not even a variable. The definition had variable in it. I thought it was weird because you can do this without it being a variable, but interpret this thing that I'm giving to you, interpret it as whatever type, I'm saying. So the three main ones, there's actually a few more, there's some other ways to do other data types, but these are the main ones you're going to be hitting, and these are the ones I want to mess around with right now. So remember, I gave you a little quick view into functions, and I said whenever you see a word and some parentheses, open parentheses, close parentheses, that is a function. So this function int, this function string, or short for string, and this function float allow you to cast a variable or cast a value as a specific type. So again, maybe we're working on something where we're working with numbers and we want to end up building a string with that. So we want this to be interpreted differently. We can cast that integer using this str function. We can cast it to a string so that it's interpreted as a string. Same thing again with int. Maybe we have the string of 5 and we want to be able to do some mathematic or arithmetic functions against it. We need to convert that to a integer, and so we can use these functions, and we're going to hop into the interpreter in a second and do that. But again, typecasting, type coercion is coercing a type into a different type. Typecasting is telling the interpreter to interpret this type as a different type. Cool, easy goodness. I always thought of it as typecasting is when you manually, deliberately change the data type, whereas type coercion is when the language does it implicitly or under the hood. Okay. Sure. So I do think that's true. And I've heard it described, and again, I couldn't confirm it through the things that I've looked up. I think that's a very fair definition of it. There's been a number of times when coercion has also been explained to me as you, the user, manually coercing it as well. But yeah, I think they're I think they're all the same thing. It's whether it's you or it's the interpreter or the compiler changing the type. That's basically what casting and coercion is. It's changing of the data type, the underlying data type, or how it is interpreted. Yeah. So I'm actually going to save that. I like that definition. I'm actually going to, again, I save a lot of notes from here. I like that a lot. That is a really good way to think about it. Cool. So let's hop into our interpreter and see what that means. Again, if you want to get into the Python interpreter, all you got to do is open up your terminal. On Linux, it's probably called terminal unless you install something else. On Mac, it's called terminal by default unless you install something else. On Windows, you can either open up command CMD if you hit the Windows key and type in CMD, or look for command prompt in your applications, or PowerShell. It should work. I think command prompt's a little bit safer for. I think Python paths work in command prompt. And I think you may have to do some work to get it to work in PowerShell sometimes on some people's computers, but yes, that would be the application that which you would need to do what we're about to do now. So all you got to do is just go ahead and type in Python 3 or Python, depending on how you have it set up. Try both. Try to make sure it says Python 3 here, because you may have Python 2 installed, which is fine. It won't hurt for this. I don't think anything we're doing tonight is dependent upon Python 3, except for maybe one of the math functions we're going to be doing, but you can go ahead and hop in here. And again, this is a REPL. This is a REPL terminal or interface. So REPL is REPL. That is read. It's a read, evaluate, print loop. So again, break it down. Read. It's gonna read in what you pass to it. So you're gonna put in text. It's gonna read it. It's going to evaluate it. So Python's going to interpret it and evaluate it. It's going to determine some output. It's going to print it. So it's going to output it to you. And then it's going to loop around. So it's going to give you the opportunity to start the loop over again. It's going to give you the opportunity to read in some data. So that's all that this is. That's all that this is. So again, you can type in something like print. My name is Aaron. Whoops. And you saw when I typed it in, and I hit enter, it reads what I input to it. It evaluates it and determines what the output is going to be. We talked about how you display output to the screen, and this print function is how you print stuff out to the screen. So Python says, hey, I know what print does. I know what the function print does. I'm going to go ahead and take your input, which is my name, it's Aaron. I'm going to give you some output. I'm going to print it. I'm going to print it out to the screen, and then we're going to give you the command prompt over again so that you can start the process over again. So cool. I do like to cover that because I have heard a lot of people being asked on interviews about either the word REPL being thrown around or people asking, what a REPL either terminal is or a REPL interface is. So just something good to know. But the things that we're talking about now is typecasting. So maybe first, we know what a string is. We know that if we do this, again, double quotes, single quotes, double quotes, this is a string. We know there's a string. If I hit enter, it's not gonna do anything but kind of just spit it back out at us. But we know this is a string. What if we wanted to, so typecasting this to int is the first one on here. Typecasting this to int actually will not work. So you can't always cast data types to other data types because they're incompatible. And this is why we want to talk more about data types. And so if I try to evaluate the string this as an int, if I attempt to kind of convert it to an integer, it's going to give me some errors. It's going to say invalid literal for int with base 10 this again, because there's no real way to kind of convert this to an int. I think under the hood it says invalid literal. I think what it ends up like attempting to do is kind of convert we talked about Ascii characters a little bit. I think it tries to do some conversion if there's an individual number, individual letter there. and does its best to convert it to a number, but it cannot. It can't do that. So again, this will work at times when you have things like this, integer 5. So this can obviously be converted to a number. Again, any number in here. This is a string, so this is not an integer, it's a string because of the quotes, and typecasting will allow it to be evaluated as such. So one thing you might want to do with this is, like, let's say you were trying to add some numbers, and let's say you asked the user for input. Remember, we talked about input, and let's say answer equals, let's get some input for myself really quick. Input, again, pick a number. Pick a number, space. It's gonna take an input, so I'm gonna pick a number. I'm gonna say 56. I'm gonna say 56. Now, if we're gonna talk about this in a second, but to see what type something is, I can type in str, and this will allow me to see what type something is. And let's look at the slide for it now. Yeah, but how the heck do I check the type of something? And you use the type. Oh wow, I missed a quote here. I mean a parenthesis here, but the type function is how we go ahead and we check the type of something. So let's go ahead and check the type of answer. So I basically created a variable here called answer. I set it equal to the input. I set it to equal to some user input. I asked the user to pick a number. So you can see down here, I typed in 56. So actually first, so you can understand that concept, I'm gonna print out answer, the variable answer. When I print that out, it's equal to 56. So answer becomes equal to the number that I input. So I input it into the variable, so it's equal to 56. Let's check the type of what 56 is. Print. We don't need the print actually, but we're gonna leave it there because I don't want to delete stuff. And you can see here, even though this is a number, even though 56 is a number, it lets us know that the class, it's of type string. str, short for string. And it doesn't show it to you here when it prints out, because it just prints out strings without the quotes. Same way it does up here with my name is Aaron. So it doesn't put any quotes around that when it does the output. But 56 is a string. Input by default takes in strings. But let's say we wanted to write a program to add that input, add 10 to that input. We wouldn't be able to do that. So if I do 10 plus answer, it's gonna fail. It's actually gonna fail. Even though answer, I input a number of 56, it's gonna fail because you cannot add unsupported operand types plus int and string. You can't add an int and a string together. This would be a situation when you would need to typecast. This would be a situation when you need to change the type of some of your data. So here, if we wanted to be able to evaluate this, we go ahead and take our answer and we cast it into an integer. And if I hit enter now, it goes ahead and it evaluates it properly. It does 10 plus the 56 that I entered, and now we have 66. So take that in. Hopefully you can see why you would need to do that. Again, sometimes it may take you a while to understand which data types play nicely together, which ones you can, add together and subtract. And I'm going to show you basically the inverse of this in a second with an integer to a string and a float to a string and things like that. I'll show you basically the inverse of that, but this actually happens pretty often. There's actually a lot of use cases where you need to manipulate the type of data to be able to work properly with what you're trying to do. I've had a lot of people also ask questions when talking about this that say, hey, I thought this was a dynamically typed language, like can it infer what you're trying to do, and how come it doesn't just work? Like this feels like a static typing model. And yes, these are rules that generally apply to statically typed languages. There are some dynamically typed languages that will make some of these things work. So there are dynamically typed languages that will infer your intent, but that can be problematic. But yeah, all languages aren't like that. This is how Python does it. Just so we're clear, it's how Python does it. And so it's important to understand how they play around together. So hopefully you guys got that. Apparently, let me see. Sorry, I missed the last 2 sessions. There's a reason we're not using idle or just a preference. So, we can. We did a little editor's war thing earlier, but we're not really focused on the editor itself. When we get a little bit deeper, maybe we will focus a little deeper on the editor or tools that we have available to us. But I personally don't think idle is even the best Python editor. To be 100% honest, that's why I recommend VS Code. That's the one that I've been recommending. That's kind of the go-to right now in the industry. But yeah, this is just a preference. You'll probably see me using Vim or VS Code. But again, the goal is not to really have you follow along with the things I'm clicking around on, things like that. The goal is really just the concepts of coding. So yeah, mostly just preference. I don't think idle is. I've used idle recently, but I think there are a lot better options, honestly, than idle. Cool. There's a built-in function, int function. You can specify a base between 2 and 36. That is correct. That is definitely correct. Let's see. And an interpreted strings is a number, a base. Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that. There's the base. We might mess around with that in a second. I agree, VS Code is awesome, but if you just want a simple interpreter for beginners, idle works. Yep, and comes with Python. Standard Python install. I'm not sure I knew that. Maybe I knew it came with the standard Python install. I feel like it comes with the standard Python install on Windows, maybe. Wait, is that like is idle? Can I just type in? Yeah, I don't think it comes. I think it probably only comes with the Windows installer or maybe the Mac installer. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it. I don't know. Maybe it's great. Maybe I'll give it a go. I gotcha. Okay, cool. So that was integers. Let's do something with a string really quick. Hey, DBJNR, welcome to the stream. Thank you for the follow. All right, let's do the exact same thing, but let's flip it around. Let's do it with a string. So we just casted a string to an integer. Let's clear this up a bit, and let's go ahead and hop back into here, and let's do this with the opposite way. So if we want to interpret a number or integer or float as a string, you just simply use the str function. And so this is a little less exciting, to be honest. So we'll pass in the number 5, and it does put quotes around it because it wants you to kind of know that it interpreted it a different way. Hey, Charles Code, thank you for the subscription. Welcome to the family. It wants you to know that it interpreted it as a string. And so again, why would you want to do something like that? Maybe you were building out, your code did a bunch of stuff, and you wanted to output something to the user that says, hey, maybe you were doing like a budget app or something, and you were going to say, hey, comma, your total expenses were, actually, let's delete this. So let's say you had this app that was tracking expenses that you made, and let's say the final number, it was doing math, obviously, to track this, and we're going to say total equals, maybe it was, let's say 690, just because my fat fingers typed it. So total is equal to 690. So we're declaring a variable, we're setting it to the value of 690, the integer value of 690. We have our total here. And let's say the last thing we want to do is we want to print out to the user, a comma, your expenses were, whoa, I can't type. So, hey, your expenses were total this month. All right, so obviously, giving you guys a little test here. We'll print it out. This is not what we wanted. It says, hey, your expenses were total this month. So we wanted to make sure that total gets added in there. How can we do that? What is that called? We want to basically have some interpolation happen here, some string interpolation. We want total to be to be evaluated here, but maybe we wanted to do something like this. We don't need to do, there's a couple different ways we can do stuff like this, but maybe we wanted to just go ahead and concatenate this and build our string this way. All right. And when I hit print here, we've seen this work. We thought this could work. We know we can build our strings. We know that we can concatenate strings, add strings together end to end by doing a plus sign, by just adding them together. But what does this say here? You can only concatenate strings. So the word concatenate only refers to strings. And so it says not an integer, can't use an integer. You can only concatenate strings. So this is where we can use typecasting. So we have our app, we've taken in all the data, we know the user's total expenses, but when we try to build this output, it doesn't work. And the way that we can do this is where typecasting will come in, is we could go ahead and we could cast it to a string. And now, because it's now casted as a string, strings can be concatenated. So we now have, hey, your expenses were $690 this month, even though it doesn't say dollars. Let's go ahead and make it $690. Let's go $, and let's go space to make it better. And it says, hey, your expenses were $690 this month. So that's one way you can do these things. Again, we can mess around and do some string concatenation just for a little bit of practice that is not typecasting, but just so you can get a little more practice and kind of a little refresher on what we did the other night. You can do a little string formatting, which we can use to interpolate this string. We can put the F at the front for format. We can put total here inside of the braces, the curly braces, and then we can tell it that, oh, actually that will work. Or we actually don't even need the F for that, I don't think. Do we? Oh yeah, we do. So we do the F. Or we can, I think we can also just do it like this. This work? Doesn't work. I don't know why I thought that worked. Maybe I'm thinking of, maybe that's a dot format. Let's see, dot format without the F. Total without the F. Just a million different ways to do it. Just checking it out. Just checking it out here. Cool. So, but again, this is what we're worried about. I know if I went off on a tangent, but this is what we're talking about here. We changed the integer to a string. Simple concept, to be honest. We moved it from one thing to another. And now let's do a float. So actually, let me just show you that you can also do the same thing with a float. Just everything can basically be casted into a string, to be honest. But just want to show you that maybe if total was now equal to $690 or $7,690.45, which is now a float. How can we check that it's a float? How can we check the type of total? We can do type total, and we can see that it is a float. We can also do, let's go back to where we did this. We can still do this. We can still do string total, and you can see here, it still is able to concatenate even the float. So again, just about every data type can be converted into a string or can be casted into a string. Now, here is the interesting one. It's not that interesting, but floats work a little bit differently. Well, they don't work a little bit differently, but you might be interested to see how what the output of something like this is. So floats work very much like, let's clear this, very much like ints do. Actually don't know how to, Control L, yeah. Python 3. Floats work very similarly. So let's take a look at what happens if we do a float and we do something like, let's pass in 5. So we're gonna pass in an integer to a float. What is that gonna do? How do you think that's going to cast? How do you think it's gonna convert 5 into a float? Well, we do that. It's simply, we know that floats are decimal points, and so it adds a decimal point and then 0. So again, this is the same value. 5 and 5.0 numerically are the same value, but now the underlying type is different. Can we do the same with a string? Let's see. Yes, we can. Again, it's a number, so it'll work. But what if we have a string that's not a number? We type some letters in here. This will not work the same way it did not work for an integer, so don't sweat that. So you need to make sure that if it's a string, it's got to be a string of numbers. And so that will work. And actually, so you can see here how it converted. Integer will do the same, but it pulled off the leading 0, which makes sense because that doesn't make any sense. And just added a 0 to the end. I'm not the only one. You're not the only one streaming that building. Oh, hold on, let me click here. Who else is streaming in here? Well, then that's pretty cool. I'll find out who's streaming. That's cool. We'll have to do some collaboration. They're using a Mac. I don't trust Mac users. It's like I use a Mac. I got a cool little MacBook right here. It's nice and portable. That's funny. Cool. So yeah, floats are like that. So they just add a 0. So don't worry about that. You can use that just like an integer. And why would you need to do that? Because of the way. Actually, I don't actually know about this, but can Python do ints plus floats? Yeah, it can. So that seems right. So you might need to do like a use case for this might be exactly what we just did. Again, for the total expense app, and doing something like that, if to get a float so that you can do some math or something like that. But yeah, some coding languages you can't just add together ints and floats, which is interesting. But yeah. Okay. Can you cast characters to int for ASCII? Yes, I believe so. So let's go int. Say hi, man. I don't know if you guys remember Alex from last year. Anyone who watched last year's engineering panel. This is Alex. Alex works with me. He actually is helping out with some stuff for Mastermind as well. Pretty great engineer. I'm hoping he'll be a part of the engineering panel this year that we're having later on in March. But yeah, but we can do. You'll see him probably step in a lot. Just to he's a lurker. Pimp Ninja say what's up, Alex. Pimp Ninja. So yes, you can. I thought you could do. Does it have to be a? I really thought that you could do this. With base 10, do I have to add in? Character literal. Do I have to? I thought you could do this. Let me Google this really quick. Let's Google this. Maybe I'm wrong. If anyone knows for sure, I thought you could. So now you guys are getting another lesson in that not everyone knows everything, and to absolutely find out if I'm wrong. If you think I'm wrong, tell me, because I'm exploring here too. And like I said, I mess with a lot of programming languages, so sometimes I forget which one can do what. Python cast int to ASCII or opposite. Oh, okay. It's its own thing. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, yes. I've seen this. I've definitely seen this. So there's this. You can do it. You can do it both ways. It's just not with the int. I thought you could use it. I thought you could use the int to do it. What else will give you a? And what was the other one? Ord. Interesting. All right. Learn something new. Definitely learn something new. So you can also, we talked about the Ascii tables already. I think it was in the Python bootcamp. If not, it was in the DevOps bootcamp. But your numbers, your all of your characters on your keyboard, space, slash, your colons, ABCD, capital ABCD, they have different values. They have different number values actually that reference them. There's these Ascii tables you can look up for reference, but you can use those numbers again to reference letters and vice versa. These letters, these runes, have number values, and you can convert them back and forth, which is pretty interesting. So just so you know why, well, not so you know why, but something interesting that I had seen done that I actually have only seen done recently, which I thought was super interesting, was I was trying to write something in Go, and I think we had to check to make sure something was alphanumeric. And a lot of languages give you some functions that are built in to make sure things are alphanumeric. Alphanumeric meaning a letter or a number. And in Go, you can use these numbers because the Ascii tables are kind of standard across the board. So you can use these numbers to ensure that a character is actually falls within the letter or number range. So you can say, you can convert a character over to its ASCII table number, and you can say, hey, as long as, you can use those comparison operators to say, hey, as long as it's in between one of these two numbers, I can confirm that it's alphanumeric, which is interesting. I never really thought like that. So that's pretty cool. That's definitely a pretty cool way to use it. I was always wondering, I haven't had the need in my career to be able to the need to use really the ASCII values for characters at all, but it was pretty interesting seeing that in action. Maybe we'll do some problems where we can practice that. But cool, that's typecasting, pretty simple. Let's take we'll take a quick little stop here, get some water, but that is your first big thing for types. Till 2 a.m. Gotta head to bed. Work in the morning. All right, Pim Ninja. Good night. Catch you on the video on demand. The recent Google Class invite. Yes, I can send it straight to you. Let me add you to. I'm not gonna send it right now. I'm gonna add you to my Google Keep. Send Ninja. I'm probably gonna send you a whisper on here, and I'll see if I can find you in either the Slack or the Discord. If you're in there, shoot me a message. But I will send you a whisper, a direct message on here. Classroom. Cool. I meant to, so I didn't get to it last night. It's still on my list of my to-do list and keep to be able to have the Nightbot chill out, the Nightbot mod, relax a little bit, let you type in a little bit more. So that's interesting. Can you declare a variable of a certain type without initializing it in Python? Yes, I believe so. Of a certain type, so you can't really declare it of a certain type. You mean declare a variable? I guess, can you declare a variable of a certain type without initializing it in Python? I don't know if you can do it of a certain type. I think the only way to specify type in Python is to cast, I believe. Maybe you can expound upon that. I think the only way is to cast it. Maybe give me an example and maybe we can run through it. Can you add me too? Yep, I will. Now everybody has your email, Charles the Code, but yeah, I can add you as well. Cool. All right, we already got the slides posted. Example int a. I don't think you can declare a variable by type in Python at all. I think we learned that you can't just declare a variable. You have to assign it a value, and I don't think you can specify type. Maybe. Oh, actually, I guess you could. I guess you could do. Now that I'm thinking about it, I guess you could do something like x equals int 5, but I think you have to give it a value or none type. Maybe something like that is what you're saying. I don't know. Actually, that's very interesting. Obviously, I think the type of this will be, and the value will be empty. Okay. Maybe some var equals none. Python doesn't really have variables. They're more like names. That's true. They are more, I mean, they're definitely variables, but yeah, they're not like variables everywhere else. Price equals input price. Yes, you could do that. So yes, you could take the input and you could set the type on creation, I guess. But you couldn't just declare the variable by itself without assigning it a value. But you would not need to, well, you said initialize, you didn't say instantiate, so yeah. because we'll be doing something like a equals int, is that we'll initialize it and give it a default value, correct? Could you ever do var equals var? So you could do var equals var if var was already equal to something, or you could give it the value. So if I did var equals var, it should give me an error. And the reason that is because I didn't put any quotes or anything around this. So it's looking for another variable reference for var. So if var was already declared, and say var equals 40, and I did var equals var, I actually don't know what this will do. It should be fine, and var should still be 40 because it just reassigned itself basically. Interestingly enough, that's also good to know because in Python, because you don't need to use any reserved word to declare a variable, var is not a reserved keyword as it is in a lot of other languages. Cool. All right, let's move on to the next thing. All right, we're actually making good time. I was actually worried there wasn't enough in here because we talked about types a lot, but again, I wanted to mess around with it. I was worried there wasn't enough new stuff in here to fill up some of the time, but I think we're good. String methods. This is a fun one. I think you're going to be messing with strings a lot in your programming career. A lot of times you're going to be doing coding problems as we hop on to exorcism. We're going to be running through coding problems that are going to be asking us to manipulate strings a lot. And so string methods are a great way to do this. So what are string methods? First off, string methods are these built-in functions to help you get stuff done. So methods actually are a little bit different than a function. They are functions, but they're a little bit different. They're kind of these functions attached to objects. But we're gonna be talking about that later. I don't want you to get confused over functions versus methods. They're just called string methods, and they allow you to do some magic. And they do a lot of magic for you. And so I'm going to send out this link to W3 Schools, which is a good resource for learning Python or for referencing things inside of Python. So I'll save this. And we're not going to go over all of these, obviously, but I'm gonna make this a bit larger and I'm gonna show you what these methods do. So Python has a set of built-in methods that you can use on strings. Again, strings only. Hey PCBO, thanks for the follow. Welcome to the channel. But we can do a lot of things. And so this is a great table of what the method is and what it does. So I think we threw one of these in here the other day, but capitalize. So this converts the first character to uppercase. And actually I think there's another one in here, which is like title, which does the same thing, converts the first character of each word to uppercase. So as if there's multiple words, there's this title one. But let's take a look at some of the other ones. We have case fold, which I've never used. Most of these I've never used just because I haven't found the need for them, but converts a string into lowercase. That's interesting. So what does lower do? Converts a string to lowercase. I don't know what the difference is between the two, but maybe we'll find out in a second. Let's mess around. But there's just these different things that make it easier for you. So again, remember I said those tools that go in your toolbox. You don't need to memorize each of these at all. But know that there are these built-in functions that allow you to manipulate strings. So if you're ever working on something where you need to manipulate strings, make sure you know that there's a place I can go. I mean, you can just Google string methods, but I know there's this list of things that I can do to strings to be able to manipulate them easily, and maybe I can find my answer in there. And so it's good to know about these. And let's mess around with some of them. Let's see how they work. Things like split are great ones. Things like title. So let's check some of these out. And maybe this time we'll hop into a file. And I'm gonna stay in Vim, but maybe you can. It's cool for you to mess around. It's cool for you to mess around in the interpreter. You can open up your VS Code if you like. But I'm gonna make some files just so you can start to see some colors. And again, I think that differentiation helps a lot. Let's go into our folder that we made. I always forget where it is. Streams. I'm gonna remember this. I'm gonna set up a alias to take me straight to this folder next time. And we have a hello world.py here. So let's go. Then what are we working on? String methods.py. All right. So I've opened up a file here. Open it up in Vim. you can open up yours in VS Code. Go ahead and just open up a file in your VS Code editor so that you can just mess around with this and follow along. You don't need to follow along. You can mess around. You can take a look at that list and you can mess around. But let's go ahead and get a couple of strings in here. So let's just set up a variable called greeting. First, let's get a couple strings in here. Some with lots of words, some with one word, but hello, comma, how are you doing today? Question mark. All right, so that's the first string. Obviously, we're gonna get a name in here. My name in here is gonna be Raul this time. Let's that makes sense. We actually only need two. I wanted to do one with one word and one with a bunch of words. One so we could do some splits. Actually, let's do split. We're gonna do an example on how to do a split string, and maybe we'll say something like type. All right. There we go, just a random string with a bunch of stuff in it. And we're gonna work with these and we're gonna reference here, and we're gonna mess around with some of these string methods just to see how they work. Cool. Sorry, let me get a little bit of water really quick. You want to send you a file from a Jupyter notebook and make sense and easy to follow and fast pace. I think a Jupyter notebook for most would be overwhelming right now. Hi there, which distro are you using? Is that Ubuntu? Just wondering. This is Pop OS. I need to put some more information below about it. This is it's an Ubuntu-based distribution from a company called System 76. And actually, let me I never share what I'm using. Let me just send this off. But they make Linux laptops. I actually use one of their laptops. Cool. Hey, was it OCO? Welcome. Thank you for the raid. Hey, everyone who came through with OCO's party. I hope I'm saying that right. If I'm not, definitely correct me. But welcome. We're learning a little bit about Python, learning a little bit about data types as well. So welcome to the channel. All right. So right now, the part that we're actually on now is that we're actually learning about string methods. So there's some functions that you can apply to strings to do some cool stuff. Very easy for you to do. Per several pages, casefold is more aggressive. Okay, gotcha. All right, so let's do one of the first ones. We saw capitalize here. So all we got to do is actually, let's take a look again. This is documentation, and I told you before, technical documentation gets a little tough to read. So maybe let's take a look at like capitalizing. Maybe it'll give us some examples so we can learn how to do this. So here this is an example. They've set up a variable called text, txt, which is equal to this string. This looks very similar to what we just did up here. We set up some variables equal to a string. We did 3 of those, but same thing. All right, now the next thing they did is they created a new variable. So a whole new variable called x. Variables again are these like boxes, are these placeholders. We can call them whatever we'd like because all they do is reference a value, and that is equal to now txt. There's a txt here. Dot capitalize, and we can see the parentheses here because remember I told you that's a function. Now again, we haven't learned about methods yet, but you can see methods are going to be added on with this dot things here. So when you see dot, that's how you add on a method. That's how you identify something as a method, but that's how it's going to perform what it performs on it. And then when we print this out, so we're going to run their example. Oh, I didn't know that they opened it up in a new thing here. You can see here, hello and welcome to my world is all lowercase, and now the H is capitalized. So let's go ahead and apply this. Let's apply this to our code here. So let's make a new one called, let's make it more descriptive, capital underscore greeting. And we're gonna say equals greeting dot. And what do they put here? Is it capitalized? It's capitalized. So cap, what's happening here? Y, there we go. I capitalize. I can't spell sometimes. All right, and so let's go ahead and print that out and let's see if it actually worked. Capital Greek. All right, we'll save this. And so the reason we're doing this in files again is because I want you to see some colors, and I just want you to get a little bit comfortable running Python applications. So what do we do here? Let's make sure we know what we did. We set up a variable called greeting with the value of the string, hello, how are you doing today? And then what we did down here is we made a new variable, brand new variable called capital greeting. And we attempted to use the dot capitalize method, string method, on the greeting. So greeting dot capitalize means we're running this code, basically we're running this function onto greeting, and we're gonna see what the output of that is. So let's take a look, let's save it, and let's Python 3 strings. All right, so I might have already capitalized this. So let's check that out. It looks like somebody already said that, yes. So let's uncapitalize it. And you can see here how it did nothing to our code. Because it tried to capitalize the first thing, it was already capitalized, so it did that. But when I go ahead and I run it again, it goes ahead and it lets me know that this is like this. And so maybe if I do this so that you can see the code, and I run it again, we can compare it. Greetings here is lowercase, and here it is now capitalized. Cool. Now let's try another one. Let's try another one off that list. Let's try another string method. So capitalize, again, simply capitalizes the first letter in the sentence. So it'll only apply it to one letter, but nothing else. So this is something that you could do manually. And maybe one day we'll spend some time trying to implement string methods manually ourselves. We can also look at the code for string methods. They're fairly straightforward, but again, it's someone said it in one of the streams. There's a lot of syntactic sugar here. Syntactic sugar being that they give you functions and methods so that you don't have to make your code kind of a little bit cleaner, easier to read, easier to implement some things. Appreciate the bits there. Appreciate the cheer. Thank you, Vegarat. I never know how to pronounce that. I'm really bad. I've watched streamers try to pronounce people's names. They seem so comfortable doing it. I always feel like I'm getting it wrong. So I'm sorry about that if I'm saying it wrong, but welcome. Cool. You're with Clarity. Yeah, I'm at Fearless as well. I'm up on the 3rd floor. You can come say hi if you want. You can come say hi right now if you like. Hop on a little bit. But yes, I work at Fearless. Yeah, I'm up on the 3rd floor. Come say hi. I would love to meet you. I love the Clarity folks. Cool. So let's check out a different one. Let's check out a different string method. Capitalize. Let's go with I like casefold. Let's check casefold. I like the name casefold. Convert string into lowercase. Again, they're all used the same, so we can just convert everything to lowercase. And because of this, let's go ahead and make Raul all uppercase, because that's our name today. Call me Raul. It's all uppercase. And let's go ahead and make some space down here. And let's go lower name. Because again, we can call this anything we'd like. This could be X, Y, whatever. Doesn't really matter. It's a reference to the value that we're going to add in. So we're going to do name dot casefold. I wanted to see if that came up. I probably need to install Python code completion in Vim, but let's call casefold. And again, up here, we can see, well, let's cat it again. Let's clear. Let's cat. So that you can see Raul is in fact capitalized, and we run it, and whoops, we actually didn't print anything. So it didn't. Let's comment this out so that it doesn't do that again. And let's go ahead and print. What are we printing? Lower name. All right. So now using casefold, we can see that Raul is now all lowercase. Excellent, super nice. It's really easy. So there's a lot of times you would want to use something like this. So we would use, I'm gonna switch it to the dot lower. it should do the same thing. There's some that are easy to remember. So things like the uppercase one. There's like an uppercase to make all of them uppercase. Things like lower should make everything lowercase, I believe. So same thing. But so why would you want to use something like this? Like sometimes you want an example of when you would need to use this. Sometimes if you're taking in data from the user, let's say you have a list. Let's say you have a list of names. So we haven't learned about dictionaries and things yet, but let's say you just had this list of names saved onto your system, and you wanted to maybe it's an application to check in people at a party or something, and you have the guest list over on the left. And maybe you ask for people to input their names, on an iPad or something, and they put their names in. And some people are going to capitalize their names, some people aren't. But because you're going to be processing this data and you're going to be comparing it and trying to match it with things on your list, which may be all lowercase or something, you may want to use one of these functions like lower or case fold or upper to normalize your data, to make sure that if someone came in here and put in one uppercase and one lowercase and one uppercase, that it doesn't throw your data off and that it's consistent. So normalizing data is a big reason why you would want to use something like this as well, just to make sure things are kind of clean and under control. But so we uppercased the first letter, we lowercased all the letters. Let's see what else we have. So actually, I know that the other one, if we wanted to make, let's say we wanted to make greetings. Let's open our greeting one back up. Instead of capitalizing it, maybe we want to make the whole thing uppercase. And we can just go up. Is it just upper? I think it's just upper. Maybe let's find it on the list. Pretty sure it's upper or upcase, and I don't know. They're always so different. Yeah, so upper converts a string into uppercase. So let's try to use upper. And we can go ahead and this. What did I do wrong here? Upper is not defined. What did I do? Oh, that makes sense. I just said upper with nothing else. So these are string methods. They need to be attached to a string. They can't run on their own. This doesn't know what to do because I haven't attached it to a string, and I don't want to attach it to greeting. There we go. So now we actually have complete code. And now it's all capitalized. So now we're yelling. If we have an application where we need to yell, and we want to know, hello, how are you doing today? We just did it. We just figured out how to make it all uppercase. And that method allowed us to do something cool like that. One of the cool ones I like is something called title. I really like title, just because it's cool. So let's take a look at what title does, because again, get comfortable looking at, parsing through the documentation. You may not know title is on here, but when you're looking through, you find it converts the first character of each word to uppercase. So now this will apply, this should only apply it to hello, to how are you doing today. So those should all start with capital letters when we run this. See here, it goes through and it does it to all the letters. Again, it makes it very easy. So if you're trying to import some, I don't know, maybe you're working for a company, maybe you're working at Barnes and Nobles and you guys are moving everything over to a new system, and the old system, the book names were all in there as whatever, or you need to just, the book names are coming out of the system all in lowercase, and you need to display them on the website as real book titles with all the letters capitalized. You could use something like this, and now it displays everything as a title with all the words capitalized. I wonder what would happen if we did the same thing for this split string with all this random stuff. Let's take a look and see how something like title handles that. Something that, does each word. I'm interested to see, because it looks like we only have one word here, but let's just see how it handles it. And if we do it here, you can see, actually, it does an F here. So the F is capitalized. Well, if we run down the line, you can see that after every $sign, so after every special character, it sees the next thing after the special character as a new word. So now the F is capitalized, but you can see here it's not And you can see here that the F is capitalized and the D. And again, that's after every single one of the special characters. So it sees that as a new word. It sees that special character as kind of a break in the string, and it adds that as a new word. So that's very interesting. I thought that might happen, but I wasn't 100% sure, and that's why I wanted to go ahead and do that. And this is why you want to, especially while you're learning, don't be afraid to play around. Like this is something that you may not think of. Like you may be like, oh, I see this is just one large word, so it'll only capitalize the first letter because that's what title does. But it does not because of the way that it interprets certain characters. So cool. Now we did uppercase, lowercase, and again, there's a bunch on here. But the reason I made this string, hey, come here, man. You open up. We see, isn't this great? Now we've made a real world connection.
Yeah, hey, nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you.
Yeah,
What's your name?
Stream. Matt.
Appreciate it. Everyone, this is Matt. You were what, CEO? How do you pronounce it?
Clarity. Yeah, that's it.
Oh yeah,
right
OCO,
there.
yeah.
OCO, yeah.
Yep, OCO. This is OCO. Everyone go ahead and follow OCO.
Thank you
Works
so
in the same
much.
building. Yeah,
Gosh, I'll spread the word. Yeah,
cool.
This is awesome. Yeah.
You see that? That's great. We're making connections out here. You see, all you got to do is talk to people.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yep, no problem. All right. Hey, rating you again. Hey, Gifted Lane, welcome. In real life raid. Yep, rated me again. So let's I made the split string because I wanted to show you guys split. Split is the one that you want to see. Split allows you to split up a string. And you might say, oh, like, what does that mean? So I told you, when we talked about data types originally, I told you there are data types for collections of things. You can have a list, or you can have an array of things, So you can have you can have a collection of strings or numbers, but split allows you to split up words, split up phrases, to split up a string in any way that you like, based on a character that you pass in. So how does split work? Split is great. Split allows you to split a string at the specified separator. And it tells you that it returns a list. So a list is a data type that we've talked about a bit, but it returns a list. So let's check out split here. We have an example here. It made another variable called text called welcome to the jungle. And all it does is x equals text.split. And so it applies the split method to text the same way that we've been doing things before. So nothing different here. But what is that gonna print? It's very interesting. Well, that should be their first example, but take a look that it says in string.split here that it splits the string at a specified separator. From what we saw in this example, nothing was specified. I don't see anything different from what we have. So let's see what happens when we run this bit of code. All right, so this code ran, and over here, whenever you see these square braces, whenever you see these brackets, that is a list in Python. And what we have here is we have welcome, and then there's comma, to, comma, the, comma, jungle. So it looks like it's split it up on every word. And so if you don't pass in anything, if you don't pass in any characters, it will split up by space. Actually, I think if you just do, I wonder if you just do one word, what it'll do. I won't allow it. Let's go ahead and let's do a split on our own really quick. I actually don't know how split works on a single word if you don't pass in a separator. So we're gonna find out right now. Let's do split. Let's do name. I don't know if it'll give you individual characters or not. Let's see. Let's split up our name, which is Raul today, and it doesn't work. Okay. Yeah, it doesn't work. Cool. Now I know. I'll try to remember that that won't work. Object has no attribute, but cool. What we can do is the same thing that they did. We can split up our greeting. Greeting. Oh, never mind. Everyone ignore what I just did. I did everything backwards. And I'm sure you guys told me. Split. Long day. So maybe it does. No, so it doesn't. If you try to split Raul, it doesn't do anything. It returns you a list. It told you it was going to return you a list, and so you can see here it doesn't just return Raul's name. It returns it to you in brackets. So it returns a list, but it doesn't actually split up anything because there's nothing to split on because we did not specify. Actually, one thing I do want to show you is I think it will split via every letter. If you pass in an empty string, so basically split on nothing. I believe that it will now split up his name. I think. Okay, I lied. The separator's empty. Really thought that would work. I think that this works in Go. But okay, let's split our greeting, and maybe we'll come back to that. Split our greeting up the same way that they did it. All right, so when we split our greeting, we have hello, how are you doing today? Which is great. So we're able to split up our words. And now, why would you ever want to do something like this? Sometimes, let's say you're a lot of what you'll be doing, a lot of things you do with Python, or a lot of things that people automate with Python are called ETL scripts. The ETL scripts, yes, but there's a lot of times I'm not even gonna go that deep into that. A lot of times you'll be moving data. There's a lot of times you'll be automating the processing and moving of data. So maybe you're extracting some data from a system. Maybe you take out like a bunch of information and you have this long string, and maybe you only want a piece of it. Maybe all the data is the same or has the same structure, but you don't need all that information. So you pull out the data and you split on certain things. So yeah, so far we just split on spaces, but maybe there's some characters in there that we don't need. Maybe it's a CSV or something and you didn't know how to process it right, so you're splitting on all the commas. And then because this is a list, we can use a space to reference what we want. So maybe I only want the third word, and I want to put that information into my new system. So I can now use this split up space to select only the information out of here that I want to be able to build new information to push into my new system. Yeah, I don't know. That's the first thing that came to mind. But splitting is something that you'll do very commonly. But let's take a look at this string that I made. Let's actually pass in a separator. We haven't passed in a separator yet, but now let's do split. Maybe I shouldn't have called it split. Let's call it something else. Let's call it dollar signs, because it's got some dollar signs in there. And let's do dollar signs dot split. But if we just run this, nothing should happen. It just returns us back exactly what we passed in, because by default it'll split on spaces, and we don't have any spaces in here, but we can split on the dollar signs here. Let's split on the dollar signs. How do you tell it to split on the dollar signs? You just pass in a dollar sign. Now I've passed in my separator. It will use this. It'll look for this item, and it will split on there. Now let's figure out the functionality. What do you like? Watch for what it does. I said split on dollar signs. Is it gonna remove the dollar signs? Is it gonna put the dollar signs with one side or the other? Let's see what happens when we do this. Okay, so we split on the dollar signs, which means we lost the dollar signs here. And so everywhere a dollar sign existed, it split it up into a new object. So we have, or a new item. So we have one here, and then there was a dollar sign in the middle, and now we have this. There was a dollar sign in between these. We have this. There's a dollar sign, and we have this. Again, this is a very good tool for being able to parse data and grab what you need. But we did notice that we did lose the dollar signs the same way that in hello, how are we doing? We also lost the spaces as well. So whatever you're separating on, you will lose that in translation. So you do have to be wary of that. So yeah, that's something that you'll have to do. But if you know what you're splitting on, there's ways you can add those things back later. There's a lot of different ways you can solve that problem. But we did lose it. I want you to know that we did lose it in the split. So cool. So maybe let me see if there's any other cool ones on this list that I know about. Okay, so ones like strip. Strip is cool. Strip will actually return, it'll remove spaces at either the beginning or the end. of the string, which is interesting. So we can see something like that. So there are times when you're going to be doing some work, and again, you might be doing some data loading or some data transferring, and you might pull over some data, and it's got a lot of white space. It's got a lot of extra stuff onto it that you don't need. Strip allows you to be able to easily pull out all the white space. So yeah, that might be a cool one that you might want to use. Swap case. Swaps cases, lower cases become upper cases and vice versa. This is a fun one. I'm not sure why you would ever need this. I'm sure the only reasons you would ever need this would be to have fun. But yeah, very simple. It swaps cases, and now this looks like almost like the SpongeBob little meme where he's like pecking. I don't know why you would ever want to do it, but you could, and that's cool. Again, that's that syntactic sugar that Python adds. That's the magic. That's the magic that Go doesn't have, even though I love Go. So save this. If this is your first time seeing these things, save this page. W3 Schools is great. It has a lot of references for Python. Definitely save the link for this page so that you can come here and you can try to do some stuff. You can do things like find. You can find strings. You can find a string inside of other things that will return the position where it found it. So there's just some cool things here. Also, you can use join, this join command, this join method. You can use it to concatenate strings as well. In a tuple, it turns a tuple into a string. So it'll just join those things into a single string. So there are a lot of cool options here, but now you know. Now you know what string methods are, and that there are these things that you can do to interact with strings, and definitely feel free to go and play around with those. And so I'll share it again, just so people have it. And again, check out W3 Schools. It is great. It's a great site. You can learn more. Obviously here you can learn more than just Python, JavaScript, everything else. It's a good reference for the things you're trying to do. Yeah. Honestly, this is actually a good place to go to after every time we bring up a new topic. I would actually head over here and find it on the list and, find out, see if you can read about it, see if this can add to your knowledge of it, see if it can add anything that I missed out on being able to explain to you, see if you can look through the examples. And again, it's also just a good practice on getting comfortable reading technical documentation, which again it's a skill. It's a skill the same as coding. I will argue with people till the end of time about how difficult it is to gain the skills to be able to truly understand and be able to parse technical documentation. And I think the more that you practice it, the better you'll get at it. It's a valuable tool once you get it, but don't be stressed out if you're trying to follow documentation now and you're like, man, this makes zero sense. It's a whole beast in itself. All right, what do we have left? We have string methods. We definitely have something else. There's definitely at least, oh, there we go, cool. We have math, none types. All right, cool. We have perfect amount of time left. 9:19, excellent. We are not in danger of going until 11 o'clock today at all. We will be out of here by 10, which will be nice. Space by default. Good, yeah, JavaScript's the same, space by default. Guess it's not as awesome as JavaScript. I will say that to me, Python and JavaScript are actually on the same level now. I used to hate JavaScript. I used to despise JavaScript. Again, I didn't like JavaScript because of the syntactic sugar. It confused me when I was trying to learn. Like, I couldn't really understand a lot of concepts, or I was missing a lot of concepts because like I couldn't follow what was going on because I like Go, and Go is very explicit. I was like, you had to, for you to know what's going on here, I've got to now find a reference to this function and know, I now got to learn what this function is and what this is doing. And it was very tough for me. But now that I've kind of messed with both, I actually, like, to me, JavaScript and Python are kind of neck and neck. Python's, again, good for a lot of things. The things that I do, I've done a surprising amount of automation with JavaScript, with Node recently, and it's a solid language. It's the ecosystem is weird. It's sloppy, but it's good. It's definitely good. All right. Yep. You should definitely. Everyone should bookmark that page for sure. W3 Schools is great. August size. Tutorials point. I don't know what tutorials point is. Not sure what that is. Yeah. Yes. W3 Schools does. I do like their. They don't change their layout. It doesn't make you you don't get all confused when you go back. It's always the same, which is nice. Python is definitely great for big data. Python is really Python is good for most things. I think Python's a language that's excels at being pretty good at just about everything. Maybe it's probably great for data. Great for machine learning and stuff, but it's pretty good at just about everything that it does, which is why it's so popular. Like it's never really a wrong choice. Sure, there may be some better options in giving your use case, but like Python's never really the wrong answer, which is cool. Weird, sloppy. Yeah, I mean NPM is sloppy, man. NPM is you just I don't know, man. Just dependency hell. You go through that, like yeah. Hypno Twist, yep, there's a blue Yeti. Old faithful, old reliable, really good. I've been, the Yeti was good, and then I found out you could modify some of the outputs, modify some of your things inside of OBS with your filters, and yeah, the blue Yeti is it's my go-to. I was gonna actually upgrade to an XLR mic and everything. I couldn't bring myself to do it because the blue Yeti has been really, really good for me. R is probably more common than Python in academia in my experience. Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of things recently about some comparisons between R and Python. I think because Python's it seems more approachable, and because it's everywhere, it seems like R is having a hard time keeping up with the pace. If you're doing data stuff, R is great. I've heard great things about R. I guess in academia maybe it is. I'm not sure about that, but Python's pretty great. It's popular because it's a natural upgrade to cheap. Yeah, like this blue Yeti, for its price point, I think when I got it was like $129 or something like that. Like, if you're gonna be doing something like this, if you're gonna be actually using it, which I've used it for a lot of stuff even before this, like money super well spent. I don't need all this extra stuff. I don't need extra boxes. Nice little USB mic, plug in the USB, good to go. People always say I sound great in Overwatch, and that is that's the highlight of my day. You know, I love talking to people in Overwatch. So it's always pretty good. Did you mod your Blue Yeti? No, I did not mod the Blue Yeti. I just changed some of the filters on my input in OBS. That's a great price. That's definitely a great price. $60 with the Fallout 76 kit. Shoot, if those kits are still around, I'll buy Fallout 76 just to get the Blue Yeti. If you're doing anything other than stats, you're probably using Python. Yeah, Python, man. Python really is like, it's so easy. Like, it's so easy to just kind of get up and running. It has a good ecosystem. There's so many things that have already been built that you can use. Imports and everything are super easy. Like, I don't know, Python it's great. It's a great scripting language, amazing scripting language. So that was always my struggle in teaching Go over Python in the DevOps course. But again, that's more for the concepts is the reason why I went with Go, but it is good. Pip install magic. I'm just not a huge package manager fan for coding languages, period. I mean, they're good, they're necessary. They're definitely necessary, but it's hard to, I don't know if anyone has done package management right yet, in my experience. Don't know if anyone's done it yet. But we'll definitely, everyone who doesn't know what we're talking about now, we'll definitely get into all that. We're taking our time. We're taking our time, we're easing into things and giving everyone time to really get up to speed to all the things that we're doing. Iterate nested lists and dictionaries, absolutely. Yes, I like package managers. I like the idea of package managers. I don't think any programming language has done it well yet. I love computer package managers. If anyone's using Windows, and you should definitely check out Chocolatey. I only found out about it this year, but it's a good package manager for Windows. I think apt is great. I think yum is great. I think yast is great. I think they're all great. Brew's great. Yep, Brew is great for getting applications installed on your computer. Cool. All right, we did string methods. Let's hop over to the number stuff. We learned how to do some stuff with strings. Let's talk about numbers. So it's important to know that these things aren't inherent. The things that we're about to talk about now are not inherent to the number types in Python, but I think there are common enough things when you talk about integers and floats and like what you would want to use those things for. You want to do math with them. Like you want to do you might want to do some mathematical function. So I just want to show you that there are some cool things that are similar to string methods that you can do with numbers to make your life a little bit easier. And this won't be a math class. But it's just I think it's something that's really good to know. I didn't know some of these things in the beginning, and I had a little bit of trouble. Not trouble. I was trying to do things like I know they did it on purpose. The teacher kind of gave us projects to work on without giving us this information, and I'm trying to do the things that these functions do for you. I'm trying to do them manually, and I'm having a heck of a time, and my code's this long when it could really be 2 lines of code. So I want to give you those things up front, so those things might help you. Mathematical functions. We learned. Have we learned that you can do math stuff? I think we learned that you can do some math stuff. But yes, you can add and subtract and divide and multiply. You can do things like modulus. You can do all those stuff in programming languages, including Python. But what if you want to do something more than that? Or what tools do you have available to you to do other math functions? Because those, we all know in math, those aren't the only things that you can do. All right. We're going to use this math package. So there is a package called math that we're going to have to import. You can do this. You can do this in the interpreter. You can import packages the same way that we did the import this that day, where we imported the Zen Python stuff. Whoops, did it not need to be? Where we got the 19 rules of Python, or 19 things of Python. We just basically imported a package. We imported someone else's code to be used. There is a math package that exists inside of Python. And you do that by typing in import. And so, hold on. I'm dying, but I'm going to save myself. I don't have any LaCroix today. I actually forgot to go down and grab some from the fridge. But I've got good old trusty regular water. So no TV static today, just regular water. But so we can import packages. So you can import all types of packages. We're going to go through imports another day in depth. But we're going to open up a file really quick. We're going to call it, let's call it math. Very simple. Math.py. And your imports are going to be at the top of your file. So you can type in the word import. And we're going to type in math here. You can see I changed colors. And now Python's going to know what to do. Now there are many packages, all kinds of things. You can also use imports to import other files that you've written. Again, we'll get there as well. Just want you to have some context around this import thing that you can do. All import is doing is it's pulling in code into this file for you to be able to use. So without you having to, it's giving you access to code and tools for you to use without you having to write it inside of this file. So it's a nice little handy way of doing things. But here we can import the math package, and then we can do some cool stuff. So let's say we're working on something and we're calculating something, and whatever happens, our calculation, maybe we're dividing, it gets a non-whole number. It doesn't get an integer, it gets a float. But whatever thing we're doing, we need to provide a whole number. We may need to round that number, either round up or round down. And so the math package provides us the ability to do so. It provides us a lot of things, but some of the common things it's used for is to round up and round down. And so these two things are denoted by the ceiling operator and the floor operator. So it'll be ceil I before E except after C. This always confuses me. This looks wrong. It might be wrong. What till we get in? But I before E except after C. So it's after C. So it's EI. I believe that's right. But there's ceiling and there's floor. So obviously think ceiling up in the sky. So that's rounding up. So no matter what it is, if it's 2.1, it'll round up to 3. So it'll go ceiling. It'll hit the ceiling. Rounding down will always round down to the floor. So even if it's 2.9, it will round down to the floor. So let's take a look at both of these things first. All right, so let's go with number 1 equals. Actually, we'll just go with number 1 equals 4.6. And we can mess around with that number in a second to see what it does. So we can do print. Let's go math. So we have to be able to use what we've imported. We have to reference it by name. So we're going to print math dot seal. And so this is a method on there. And so we're going to put in num1 in here. And so I know it's gonna be a little bit confusing, but to use this math package, we have to call it with math. Say, hey, we're using math, and then we're gonna use this method that exists inside of math. So this ceiling. So we know that print is a function. Ceiling is just a function as well, but it exists inside of this math package. And so the way that we get it out of that math package is to do math.seal. And then we can pass in our number here, and let's see what that equals to. So we have 4.6 right here. We said we're gonna send it to the ceiling, so it should go up to 5. And you can see here, it spits out 5. So again, ceiling goes up to 5. All right. Yes, you can do exponents. So excited! It's actually my slow. I feel you. Trust me. If we're like, I know it's overwhelming. Even at a slow pace, it's still going to be fast. I mean, we're talking about people go to school for 4 years to learn how to code properly. So don't sweat it. If even though I'm saying that the pace is slow, if you still feel like it's fast, it's not because you're not getting it. The stuff's hard, but you do need to spend time outside of here picking it up, and I promise you're picking up way more than you think you are. Just because you don't get it all doesn't mean anything. I promise you're picking up way more than you think you're picking up. Let's see. Is it better to import it like that for learning, or import it so you don't have to do math.seal? What do you mean? Is it better to import it like that for learning, or import it so you don't have to do math.seal? You still have to do math.seal. Just have done from math import. See, oh yes. Gotcha. Okay, confused me for a second. All right, yes. So that's interesting. I was gonna teach that during the import thing, but I could actually, if I wanted to, I could specifically import specific functions out of math that I needed. So I imported everything from math. I imported every single thing from math from the math package. But I could specify seal, and then I could use seal as itself without having to specify math. Like I think it's like, what is it? Math. I think is it from or seal from. I think I can do something like this. So great question. Definitely a great question. I can do something like this, seal for math, or I could import a bunch of different functions, or I think I could do it vice versa. I'm not sure of the syntax right now, but yes, I could do that. So then if I did that, I wouldn't have to do math.seal. I could just do seal. Oh yeah, from math import seal. Yes, there we go. But yes, I'm just showing you this way right now because I think it's a little less confusing, but maybe not, because you don't know what functions exist inside of here right now. But yeah, we're gonna do it this way first, and then I'll switch it around so we can see it the other way. That's a good example right there. Is that Vim in WSL? No, this is Vim in, I'm using Linux. This is actually a Linux distribution, B2 Ninja. But the terminal that I'm using is Hyper. So it's just, yeah, a Hyper terminal. But this is actually a Linux terminal right here. But let's go ahead and see what happens when we do this. Oh, we ran it already, and it ran. So we know that this is correct. But because I said import math, this actually imported, again, like I said, the entire math package, all the functions and tools that are available to us in math. I have access to all of them right now, but I have to call them via this math.function name. And again, if I only wanted to import seal, I could do that as well. I could definitely do that as well. So we saw seal work. Let's do floor. So remember, seal goes up to the ceiling, so it rounds up, and floor rounds down. Floor rounds me down to 4. So very simple. Ceiling up to the sky, so it rounds up. Floor down to the ground. What if? Nope, that won't matter because ceiling and floor do exactly that. Cool. I think that is all we need from those two things. So ceiling up to the sky, round down, floor. And this is common. I think floor and seal are also function names in other programming languages for rounding up and down, I believe. All right, a little bit of math lesson. We're gonna do, you can also do things like absolute value. So I wasn't sure if I was gonna put this on here, but someone, as soon as I said, I wasn't sure if I was gonna put this on here, someone was like, oh, like I just used that the other day. I found a good use case for it. But absolute value, this is a little bit of math lesson because I actually forgot what absolute value was at the time that I originally put this on the slide. But absolute value, all the absolute value is the distance a number is away from 0. So, I mean, what does that mean? So the absolute value of 7 would be 7. The absolute value of 7.6 would be 7.6. But the absolute value of a negative number, the absolute value of negative 7 is actually 7. And the absolute value of negative 7.6 is 7.6 because both of those are the same distance from 0 on opposite sides of the spectrum. So basically, absolute values make it so that a number can never be negative. Yeah, they make it so a number can never be negative. I've seen people use this in place of, I saw someone use this in a Go example and converting it to Python on what's the website? Man, why is my mind blanking? What's the big website ever? Reddit. It was on Reddit, and someone was trying to show someone how to move something from Go to Python, and because he knew how to use a uint or unsigned integer in Go, he used absolute value to remove the sign basically from the number that he had on here. But absolute values can only be positive. Not sure you need to see that. I just explained to you what it was, but use it kind of the same way we would do math.fabs. So as absolute value, and that would basically remove. It would give you the distance something was away from 0 rather than its positive or negative value, which means it would always be positive there. Cool. Just something I want to throw in there. Just something I want to throw in for you to know. Just we all forget things like this, like absolute value. I forgot about it, so I just want to kind of explain it in case you might ever need it. Question, can you specify to the decimal you would like floor ceiling to round to? I think you can. I think you can. I don't remember how to do it. Let's find out how you do it. I think you can do it. So let's say we had more like this and we did, I don't know why I think I would rather do seal. I don't know. I think you can tell it. Let's just see what happens when I do this. It still runs up to 5, but let's look that up because I don't remember. Python seal or round 2 decimals. All right, let's see what we have here. Okay, so maybe we just have to use the round function and not seal. Let me see if you can do it with seal. I'm just wondering here. So Python Seal round to 2 decimal places. Let's see if that's a thing. Okay, so it looks like you need to use the round function to do that, or to basically manipulate it with math, multiplication, and division afterwards to be able to get those 2 decimal places in there. So let's use the round function. I forgot there was a round function in here. Let's see, math.py. Let's print round. I don't think this is a math function. I think you just have this available to you. Let's round it. All right, so round, it's gonna round up. Actually, I'm actually interested in how the round function works with just like 4.5. This is supposed to round up, but we'll see what it does. And so that's interesting. In the real world, if something is 5 and up, you're supposed to round up, but this looks like it rounds down, actually, and not up. So that's very interesting. Yeah, that's a really weird part of Python right there. Super weird. I didn't expect that at all. But I don't know the syntax for this. Let's look back at where we were. But it looks like I can pass in. A number to round to. So it looks like I can just comma delimited and do that. So it looks like I can say, let's say 3. Let me add in a bunch here. And so this should round out to 3 decimal places. So 4.539. So this should jump up to 540. This should be 4.540 when this is done. Let's go ahead and run this. Oh, okay. I guess that was just 3 characters and not 3 decimals. I guess. Let me see here. Or can I not go higher than 2? Let me just see something here. We're just messing around. Okay, cool. Yeah, 5392. Let me go down to 4. So this is the total number of characters, I guess, not the decimal places. 5398. That seems wrong. Oh no, that's right. Let me go 3. Hold on, I'm confused. Oh, that was dumb. No, that was right. I lied. That was right. I'm stupid. It removed the 0. So it did exactly what I told it to do. Yeah, it did exactly what I told it to do. So I thought it was supposed to go to 4.540, but I didn't see the 0, so I got a little bit confused there. That was me just freaking out. Leave the 0 off, no big deal. That's how you do how many decimals. So that was a great question there. Can you round up and down in there? So I'm assuming it'll do whatever the functionality of round is for that. Cool. Let's see. Hey, ST1, the CCS. Hope you're doing good. I'm doing good. I hope you are doing good. I guess JavaScript and Python aren't so different after all. Yeah, they're not. They're actually not that different. Round 2.5, then round 4.5. All right, let's do that. Let's do just that. Let's round 2.5, and then we'll go number 2 equals 4.5, and here we'll go around 1, B, yank it, paste, B, yank it, paste it, 2, 2.5. Oh, they both go down. All right, they both go down. I thought you were gonna, and then around 4.5. All right, they did what they did what I expected. They definitely did what I expected. It is a number of decimal places, but it doesn't show the last. Okay, you got it. Yeah, like 1.5 is the same as 1.5000. Now try 1.25 and 14.5. All right. 1.5, and what do we got here? And 12.5, 12.5, 14.5. Oh, wait, that's right. That's what I'm expecting. Well, 12.5 goes to 12 and 14.5 goes to 15. Nah, mine doesn't. Oh, was this something that happened? This used to happen? Oh, that would make me angry. That would make me really angry. Oh, cool, Charge the Code. I'm glad you're feeling the background music. I think I shared it. I meant to put it below, but it's just the chill hop playlist here. I'll grab the link. If you have Spotify, it's simply, I'll give you the song first. If you like this actual song, copy song link. This is the song link. And this is, thank you for the follow, ST1CSS. But this is the actual, man, where'd it go? The playlist that I'm on is Chill Hop, the chilliest, hoppiest station ever. Yeah, that would drive me nuts too. Like that would be very confusing to have 15 go up. Like some things go up and some things go down. Yeah, maybe that's a fix in. Oh, you know what? We can check. Let's try running with Python 2. Yep, there you go. Exactly what you said. This would make me angry. Actually, they both went up though. So they both went up. So now that doesn't bother me as much. Doesn't bother me. It just bothers me that the whole functionality is completely different. That's what would make me really angry. Like this is proper. This is proper. This is how it's supposed to do it. And now, oh, maybe it's math for, I don't know. I don't know. Let's go through the rest of these math things. 946, cool. We're definitely gonna have 8 by 10. All right. So we did ceiling, we did floor, we did round. So you learned 3 different ways to do some math stuff. And again, we're just trying to cover some ways you can interact with these different data types. We talked about absolute value, sum. This one's great. I really like sum. Let's say you have a collection of, numbers. So a collection of, let's say 12 and a half and 34. I'm just typing stuff now. And all right, so let's say we have a list of numbers. We're collecting numbers. We've been adding numbers to this list. You can add these up. So you guys don't know about loops yet, but some way in some coding languages, you would have to write a loop to be able to add these things up. But Python allows you to use something called sum. So I could say print. Well, before I put the print around it, maybe so it makes a little sense. The way that you would do it is math.fsum. So fsum is the function that you would need, and I basically just pass in this list. So there's a list here. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different items in here, and if I run this math.fsum and I pass in the list here, it should go ahead and add all those things up for me. But unless I print it out, it won't do anything. So or it won't show us anything. Let's print that out and let's see what that looks like. I don't know what this number is going to be, but we know it's going to be more than, it's going to be like 500 and something, 600 and something. And we run it and it went ahead and gave us 579.5. It added up all of those things. You can have as many as you want, but what this sum function does is it takes an iterable list. So it needs to be an iterable list, like an array or a list. Or a list, an iterable item, and it adds those things up all the way across the board. So a nice little handy tool to be able to quickly add some things up in here. Cool. And then now let's just do exponents. So maybe you want to do some exponents. You can do exponents without the math function. You can do it with like double. You can actually do it like this. You can actually do just something simple like 2 to the power of 2 with a double. I think you can do this in Python, or maybe I'm thinking about JavaScript. 2 to the power of 2. Let's see what that is. It's 4, so this does work. But you can also use math. You can also use math to do that. You can do math. So this is obviously the easier way, but you can use math to do math. Math dot power, and you just pass in your 2 numbers. So 2 to the power of 2. And it will print this out. So very simple. And so let's see this. This should also give us 4, but this time it returns as a float instead of an integer. You can see this one has a decimal, so it is a float as opposed to an integer, but math does give you the ability to do that. Very, very simple. But yeah, it's just some cool things you can do with numbers. Again, check out the math package, do some Googling. There's like amazing packages for math. If you're into math, if you think you're going to be doing anything that's math related, Python has tons of packages that are great for math. NumPy being the biggest, that allows you to do all kinds of stuff. A very popular package that I'm actually hearing grumblings of it might be getting pulled into the core of Python. Maybe it already is. Maybe I'm behind in my information about Python. But cool. So we learned about all the things that we can do with strings. We learned about string methods then that we can, capitalize and flip case and all kinds of stuff like that. We have a bunch of tools available to us to mess with strings. Now we also know that we have a bunch of things available to us that we can use to do math and to mess with and interact with numbers as well. And those are going to be the main things. We're going to get into data structures next time that'll allow us to combine some of this stuff with data structures like lists and dictionaries and things like that. But the last thing that we are going to learn about tonight is the none-type. None-type is pretty important. None-type it's important. So we learned about zero values once. We talked about zero values a little bit. And none-type is different from zero value. So none-type is not the same as false. So we talked about when something being empty, that the value is false. None is not the same as false. None is also not the same as zero. So if you have a number, something that's supposed to be a number, the empty value of a number is 0, and none is not 0, and none is also not an empty string. So none. Let's actually use some of the things that we may have learned. I think we've already learned comparison operators, but maybe not. But let's just say that num or none. And you can see here how I change its colors because it's its own thing. It's not equal to 0. None is not equal to empty string. None is not equal to false. And these three things are the basically empty data types of values. So like a zero value of an integer or a float is 0. The zero value of a float is actually equals 0.0. So this is the zero value for an integer. This is the zero value for a float. This is the zero value for a string. This is the zero value for a Boolean. None is not equivalent to either of those, but it is a valid thing that you can set these things to. So let's do something really quick. Let's it's caps lock on. Caps lock is not on. There we go. Oh, never mind. That was dumb. That was really dumb. I made edits to my file, and it was basically like, "Hey, you made some edits. Do you want to save before you exit?" And I was like, "Man, I don't know. Let me try to exit again." It's like, "Hey, do you want to save before you exit?" And I'm like, "Man, get out of my face. I'm trying to exit." And I tried to exit again. It's like, "Hey, do you want to save?" And then I realized what it was trying to do, and I fixed my problem. That's why you don't rush. That's why you read the things that are on your screen. Take your time. Don't be like me and try to do more things super fast. All right. Whoops. That was the wrong screen. That was the wrong computer. NumType. So let's go into the whoa, can't spell. Let's go to the interpreter. So I can set x equal to, and so it'll accept that. Notice I didn't put any quotes around it. It is of none type. It's not a string. And I can check the type. And the type of x is class Untyped. So this is its own type. It's used to represent not a zero value, but an empty value, which is a little bit confusing. It takes some messing around with to understand that a zero value and an empty value are basically two different things. But the none type is something that exists that I want you to know about. You probably, we probably won't be dealing with none. Like there won't be a lot of opportunity to use none, but it is an important concept to know that none is not the same thing as a zero value. Yeasty goodness, you said it perfectly. Null. So if you've messed with other languages and you can have a null value, this is the same thing. None or none type is like a null value in another language. Again, I made these very clear that it is not a zero value. It's not a zero value at all. Can you do it double equals on a none type? Yes, you can do it a double equals on a none type, but it's simply going to return false every time, I believe, unless you compare it to a none type. So if you do like 5 equals none, pretty sure you can do this. It'll basically always return false. Like nothing is equal to none type unless it's an actual none type. So if I do X right now, it'll be true because that's none type. But you can do a double equals. You can compare things to the none type for sure. But you can put a string in here, and it will always return false. What was the term again? Oh, syntactic sugar. I like that. Coding sprinkles. You should trademark that, D-Flare. I like that. Coding sprinkles is good. Man, that is excellent. Coding sprinkles. I'm going to use that a lot, especially, I try to do some workshops with some younger kids, like for trying to get them into coding early. And I think that coding sprinkles is an easier concept to understand than syntactic sugar. And I will, when that blows up, we should make some coding sprinkle shirts or something, just so that we can all be like we'll be fancy, we'll be cool, like we're the cool kids talking about coding sprinkles. If that was already a thing, definitely, I'm sorry for stealing it, but we've stolen it. We've claimed coding sprinkles as ours. And it's not mine, it is ours. Like, I like that a lot. Yeah, gonna use that from now on, for sure. Okay, I can make the most sense from a SQL point of view. Yes, I can see that as well. It's also a common return value when a method doesn't find the thing that it's looking for. Yes, you can use it when you're doing something and you want to basically what you were expecting to get or what you wanted to get isn't happening. You can use it as a return value for that. New watcher here. Hey, Megan. What OS are you using? I'm using Pop OS, which is a Linux distribution from a company called System 76. I'm actually using a System 76 laptop called the Galago Pro. But yeah, it's a nice, it's a pretty great OS, nice and simple. I'm actually going to do a whole. I haven't figured out whether or not it's going to be a video, and actually that makes sense. I was looking for a video to drop this week. Maybe I'll do a whole setup. I'll record it so that I can refer people to it. So yeah, expect that. It won't be. I'm also not dropping videos on Fridays anymore. It doesn't work with my schedule. Mondays will be video drops now. So keep an eye on that. This Monday, actually, I will do an entire setup instruction set on how to get my setup or something similar to it. But yeah, it is the System 76 operating system. It's Ubuntu. It's basically Ubuntu, so it's not anything crazy to learn. It's extremely user friendly. Actually, they have actually got someone who wasn't into Linux at all on this because they really just they had an older computer that they really just needed to do some simple stuff with, and like this has like Pop OS has this pop shop, so like you can install stuff super easy. Like I don't really use the pop shop, but like new users to Linux, like this is like very helpful for them to be able to just install applications this way. So I don't know, it's a cool little operating system. But you can get my terminal set up and stuff through which terminal I'm using and stuff through some of the chat commands. But keep an eye out. Monday, I'm committing to it. This Monday on YouTube, follow my YouTube. I'll definitely release a full like set of video. It'll be probably a little bit bigger on like how I'm using Linux like to be productive, as well as like exact instructions with my setup and how to get to my setup, because it's basically just a couple themes, a couple icons and things like that. So pretty easy to do. So I'll get you guys set up that way. Pair the term coding sprinkles with Salt Bay. I like that, with the Salt Bay GIF. That's really good. Yep. Hey, Too Sweet, how you doing? We're actually about to wrap up. This is like the first time we're finishing at 10. I think on Monday we finished at like 10:12. But we're done now. We can keep talking. We can keep rapping. We can go raid somebody's channel. But that is, I'm pretty sure we got through everything. Untyped was the last thing for tonight. All right, so let's recap real quick. Actually, let's do a final little recap of tonight. Types. Again, this is the last time we're going to focus on types. We've said something about types, I think, in every class since the first one. I've really been trying to drive home to you basically kind of what the main types are, what strings are, what integers are. So strings being words and phrases, think double quotes, integers, whole numbers, Booleans, true and false values, and floats and doubles. You see doubles on there. We're not going to dive deep into doubles right now, but floats, which are decimal numbers. These are the main things that I want you to remember in this course. Again, this is an intro to coding course. These are the main things. Like, really get a handle on those things. Here, know that there are more types in this, and that you'll come across. Two, you know how to figure out what type something is. If you're not sure what type something is, now you know how to find out what type it is, even though you need we definitely need to add in, let's go ahead and add in that here so you can find out what type something is. We talked about typecasting. How do we change the type of something to make it work with the things that we're trying to do? How do we evaluate, how do we get the interpreter to see one data type as a different data type? How do we convert it to a different data type? And we use typecasting to do so. And you saw how we were able to convert things to integers, strings, or floats. So mess around with that, get comfortable with typecasting. String methods. We learned about all the different tips and tricks and all the syntactic sugar or all the coding sprinkles that Python gives to you to make things easier, to make you be able to manipulate and interact with strings a lot easier. And there are a lot here. I gave you a link to W3 Schools to be able to check those things out for reference, because there are a good amount of things on there as well. But now you know there's some cool things you can do with strings. We learned that you could split them up into different things, into different pieces based on some type of separator. We learned that you can capitalize and lowercase and things like that. We learned that there's some cool stuff you can do with math. We learned there's this math package. We already learned that you can add and subtract and stuff like that. But there's these functions that allow you to do some extra things that may be tough, and that's round up, round down, round period, to round to a certain amount of decimal places. Things like taking the sum of a list of things. So if you have a list of numbers, you can add those things up very easily and do exponents there. And then we also learned about the none type. So we learned that none is not the same as a zero value, and that it's not equal to any of these things, and that you can set things equal to none. We haven't really learned what to use that for yet, but I want you to be familiar and know what the none type is. So that's everything for tonight. It's a very hopefully an approachable lesson, and hopefully I've left you enough days if you really didn't understand this at all. I really think that if you spend some time between now and Sunday, or now and Monday, we don't do this again until Monday, I really think you can watch through these things. Again, you don't have to only use my material as a method to learn this stuff. Go on YouTube and search more about strings in Python or something like that, or the none type in Python, and see if you can find other information that may add to your understanding of this. But I think you should be able to take this time to really get up to speed, at least have a solid understanding about the differences between types, kind of how they interact. Definitely play around and see how they interact, and maybe just do a little bit of research on all the things you can do with them, all the different tools and stuff that Python gives you. Maybe you can look and see what extra there is to do with them. So pretty simple. Let's take a look really quick at the curriculum and see what we have coming up next week, what you can get ready for, what you can, if you want to work ahead a little bit or something. Let's see what we're going to be talking about. So next week, On Monday, we're going to be learning about data structures. So things like lists, which you've already been introduced to a little bit, but dictionaries, arrays, sets, and tuples. And so this is going to be more about collection of data and structures of data and how to kind of manage those things and save those things and pass those things around. So it's going to help us really start to add like bigger tools. Now we're adding power tools. We were doing hammers and screwdrivers before. Now we're gonna start getting power tools in there. We're gonna start getting, electric drills and stuff, into our workflow, and saws and things like that. Then we have operators and expressions. This is where we're gonna start adding in logic into our code. Like we're gonna start making decisions now. This is when code gets powerful. We've been building up our tools. We've been learning the different pieces. Now we're gonna start applying some logic. So next week we'll already start applying some logic, and then the next week's gonna be even more fun. But before we know it, we're going to be solving all kinds of problems. But again, I know everyone wants to get there now. We're easing our way in. We're picking up those things. I want to make sure you have some time to truly dive into it. And again, don't sweat it if you don't fully understand this stuff by the time we get to the next topic. Just keep picking up as much as you can. Like watch the streams, pick up as much as you can, do as much outside research as you can. It's okay if you don't get it. One day it'll click. You'll read the right thing. You'll do the right problem. I don't know. Someone will make it click for you. You'll make it click for you. But just the key is just to keep practicing, keep getting your eyes on the stuff, keep having your mind think about it. So like it starts to become something that you're super familiar with. Before you know it, I'm telling you, even if we get to the end and you only have, imagine if you only have 50% of everything that we went through, 40% of everything that we went through, you've now done almost half of the work to become great at Python. And now you just need to add a little bit more time to it, which is no big deal. But imagine if you get through it, and even if you only got 40% of what we went through, you now know, infinitely more than you knew when we started. So don't sweat that at all. Make sure you keep an eye on where you've come from, basically. Like I want people to really take the time to start reiterating to themselves really the vast amount of things that they've learned. Like if you participate in this, if you are trying to learn this stuff, you will pick up the information. And what'll help you keep going is if you take the time to realize how much you really have picked up, even though you may be struggling learning something new. Don't sweat that. So cool. Here we go. Man, you guys, there's a lot of conversation going on now. Let's see. A question: would it be hard for someone new to build his own website? No. I think it'll take a little time to figure out. There's so many resources on what to do. I mean, I actually think that HTML and CSS is relatively simple. I also think there are other things like static site generators that make it a lot easier. I think the hard part about building a website is not actually building the website. It's getting it to look the way that you want it to look rather than building it. I think very simply, I think you can understand in a day or so, to be honest. I think you can watch a video on how to build a website with HTML and CSS, and you could have some type of website up and running, no problem. But it wouldn't look, the problem is, again, getting it to look how you want. That takes time. Like it's not easy to make a website very beautiful and also that CSS is an animal, to be honest. But again, you can learn how to build a website pretty quickly, but to build a website well takes a little more time, or a lot more time. Yeah, so hopefully that helps a little bit. Or something like that. For Windows, we can use rel or CentOS. Oh, for anyone running Windows 10, the WSL isn't bad for running Ubuntu with very little overhead. Yes. So something like that for Windows, where we can run rel. Yes. WSL, the Windows subsystem for Linux, on Windows 10 actually does have. When you go to the Microsoft Store, like when you download it, you end up going to the Microsoft Store. And let me confirm what it has, but I know it has a few other distributions. So I know for a fact that it has OpenSUSE, but I don't know if it has Red Hat. Let me find out right now. If you can't see what I'm doing, I have my mouse and keyboard actually, I have a virtual KVM here, and I move between a Windows computer and a Linux computer. Well, let's see. There is no, okay, so I don't see I don't see a CentOS. I don't see a CentOS here or Red Hat. Maybe there's a way to get it. Maybe there's some other way to get it. I don't see it in the store by default. Maybe there's some way to get it. Where can I get your PowerPoints? I'll share it really quick. If you're subscribed, I think I saw you subscribe. I can send you the link. It'll be in the Google Classrooms as well. But I can send you that. I think CentOS in the store. Yeah. Put in layman's terms how to build a website. If no one's put that in here already, I'll maybe I'll put it into layman's terms. Terminal stuff. I'm trying to make my own data site something unique. Realized until about a week ago that some people pronounce tuple as tuple. Oh, tuple. Interesting. I've actually never pronounced it as tuple. I don't know what it is. It might be tuple. Now, let's see. Maybe we can do a how to tuple. I don't have the sound. Hold on. I don't think the sound's gonna come through for you, but maybe I can hear it. Oh, it is tuple. Well, it is tuple. Look at that. Look at that. Let me see. You taught me something new. Tuple. It's tuple. All right. Google says it's tuple. YouTube says it's tuple. I will now do my best to switch it to tuple, but I will likely say tuple and then correct myself every time until I get it right. That's very interesting. Thank you for that, auto exec. I like to be right when I can be right. So tuple it is. I like that. I never even considered that it would be tuple, but I guess it's tuple. Let's see. And this is excellent. Thank you all for all your hard work. I appreciate that. I really appreciate the kind words. I really hope you all are getting something out of this. I hope the only goal I have here is to just share. The tech industry is the best. It's been amazing for me, and there's so many jobs, so much opportunity. I really hope that there's a resource that can help people, dive all in. Like I said, I don't need to be the only resource, but hopefully this may be something that can help spark you or guide you into the industry. And hopefully you can go make somebody better and introduce someone to the industry. And I don't know, give people some opportunity, give people some options. That's one thing I value. Like I don't necessarily love the tech industry because I'm in love with tech. I love the tech industry because of the kind of options it gives you. I like to explore life. Like I like to do different things. The tech industry really does it gives you the space to really do those things. So I'm glad. I'm glad so many people are interested and involved. I love it. I love this. I love the community that we're building together. And I'm excited. I'm excited about what it's going to be. 1,000 days of code for the win. 100 days of code. Yes, we are doing 100 days of code. We will be starting 100 days of code, I believe, in 2 weeks. I want to give everyone who's in the Python course, who's just starting, enough tools to start practicing on their own. So like, I still think, I think 4 weeks of this is like, all right, now, like, I'm not great, but like, I can print some stuff out. I understand what data types are. I can start trying to solve some problems. Maybe I'm comfortable with messing around. And then we can start together 100 days of code with both this course and the DevOps course. Just do 100 days of code. Basically 100 days of code, for anyone who doesn't know, is 100 days where everyone commits to, I want to say you're supposed to commit to doing an hour of code every day for 100 days. And it's even if you don't need to be building anything, but it is 100 days of committing to practice your craft. And you can I've done one successful 100 days of code. And when I tell you, I basically went from feeling like I understood coding concepts, but hadn't really built much. I spent that 100 days just trying to solve problems and build a lot of things. And when I tell you, when I got to the end of that, I didn't know who I was. I was like, I'm Neo now. I'm great at this. Like, this is amazing. And I'm still not the best programmer in the world at all. Like, again, they're like, I'm not a world-class programmer at all, but like, just putting that time in, putting 100 days into something. And I miss some days here and there. That's completely fine. But your goal is to really try. Man, it's really an accelerator for your growth. And again, I think the 100-day mark is perfect for like not feeling overwhelmed. And it starts to get comfortable, and like you start to just mess around. And I think doing it for 100 days and then cooling out and not making it as much of a priority for a little while and then trying it again is a really good way to learn. But yeah, we'll definitely be doing 100 days of code. There will be tons of information. It's not just going to be 100 days of code and just kind of let you guys go. It's going to be 100 days of code where you can just go if you want, but there's going to be some structure around it. There's going to be some ways to check in. There's going to be some ways to interact, and there's going to be some guided things for anyone who just doesn't know how to really participate in something like this. There's going to be some guided like lessons and daily challenges for people to do to make it pretty fun. But cool. So keep an eye out for that. That scared myself. 1,000 days of code, not happening. Well, yeah, it's not happening. It's not happening. Building a website. Building a website is easy. Building a good one is hard. Yes, it is very hard. Sure, I get the programming concepts, but I can't come up with practice projects. Yes, that is spot on. The practice projects thing is something that makes me so angry. Like, not angry, but like that's always what people say. They're always like, yeah, like the best way to learn now is to go out and to do some practice projects. It's like, one, I don't know. Everyone doesn't know what they want to do. Some people's minds just work that way, and they say, oh, I have this problem and I want to solve it using code. But like everyone's not like that. And I had a lot of trouble trying to find some practice projects that I wanted to work on. And so the way that it worked out for me was one day someone was like, hey, instead of trying to find a practice project, they said, I told them I was pretty big into free and open source software. I have been in Linux for a while. I was using Linux exclusively at the time. And they were like, hey, you have a job. And this was like when I was like a systems administrator. He was like, take a look at some of the repositories for the free and open source software that you use. And I know you're not in a place where your coding skills are good enough for you to contribute to them technically, but take a look at their documentation. Take a look at their readmes. Take a look at the instructions on how to use their software. Find places where it's like, this is confusing and I've used the software enough to where I think it could be a little bit better. And I would start to do that, and I would read through things and I'm like, oh, look, I think this would be better explained if you added in this sentence or two. And people started like, I put in some PRs and people accepted them. And then I started to feel a connection to those things. And then I started to take a look at, because of that, I will start to take a look at the issues that were being reported. And so although like I didn't just pick a project out of my head, I would find some issues and I'm like, I have no idea how to fix this, but I understand this person's problem. And let me look at the code and see if I can, just take some time. It's a learning experience for me to be able to like read what's happening here, and that'll put some context around things. And maybe I can contribute. Maybe I can take this code, and even if I'm not going to fix the problem, maybe I can mess with this code locally and see if I can change this application that I know of. Like the first one I did it with was actually was Apache. Was a web server called Apache. And I was like, maybe if I could change some things in here, let me see what happens when I change it. And I run the program. Let me see if I can get this thing to happen. Let me see if I can get this thing to happen and this thing. And my brain started to just make connections. I'm like, oh, like that's how these things work. And so I had to do a lot of build up before I could find projects for me to work on. Yeah, and so now one way I'm still improving my skills, because again I come from a systems administration background, so I'm still improving my coding skills for sure, my development skills. But now I'm at the point where I can think of practice projects because I already know what the tools are that I have to be able to solve these problems. It's a little bit easier to think of projects, but finding a practice project is very hard, and that's why I actually encourage people to do a little bit like of what I just said, but also I'm going to introduce you guys to exorcism.io. To even if you're not practicing projects, you can be working on your algorithmic mindset and your problem-solving mindset to be able to work on those things while you're trying to figure out a project that you can work on there. But I already have, but it's not free. Yeah, for WSL, I think so too. Let's see. All right, we have someone. You ever looked up De Morgan's Law? No, it's still on. I have it as a checkbox, so I moved it over to a checkbox on my to-do list. I will look up De Morgan's Law. I will know what that is for sure. Because again, I'm keeping track this time of everything that I've learned from you all, and De Morgan's Law will certainly be on there. I'm gonna try to restate it for everyone and use it as much as I can once I know it. Send me into the void. It's tuple. I thought it was tuple too, but the internet, Google and YouTube say otherwise. They both say tuple, so I don't know. They're the only ones that says tuple. Lots of debate online. Yep, no idea, but again, Google says it's tuple. Maybe I'll start saying it, engaging reactions, and then I'll just choose whichever one people like. I don't trust distros for WSL in the Windows Store unless they're from a real org behind it. That's fair. I'm again, as a free and open source user, I understand the lack of trust for all that stuff, especially stuff in the Windows Store. Pronounce it tuple, probably tuple. Hey, what's that? Skidity 93. Welcome, thank you for the Twitch Prime sub. Welcome to the family. Welcome. How did you hook up one of those DevOps courses? Did you hook up one of those DevOps courses on Sunday? I'm trying to get WSL set up prior to jumping into Linux. I'll hit you up on Slack. Oh, okay. Maybe I'll share some. More and more people are interested in getting WSL set up. Maybe I'll send a video or something, a good video that I find on getting WSL set up for people. Yeah, WSL would make it really easy. We'll make it super duper easy to be running through the Linux portion. I might even do, just for fun, the Linux portion from WSL, because I kind of want people to after we get through the virtualization piece in the beginning, I want people to kind of be able to realize that sometimes not all computers have a GUI interface and see that I'm just logging straight into a terminal. We'll check that out. 1,000 days of segmentation fault. That is, yes. Unlurk. I'm not sure what lurking is, but I've seen a lot of people use this unlurk command. I don't know if it's a command or if it's a response to someone, but I don't know. Are these being posted to YouTube? Yes, they will. They are going to be posted to YouTube. I have not posted them to YouTube yet. The reason I haven't posted them to YouTube yet is simply because so I have a new computer build. The old computer build I had, actually I had set up some automation, and when I recorded, when I streamed, it would also automatically record. I did not set that up on this computer. Very simple to do, but I did not set that up. So I didn't have any of the recordings locally. I can download them from Twitch, no problem. So I've downloaded the first couple from Twitch. I'll download these. But I also had them automatically before. When they were done, they were set up to automatically transcode into a format that was quicker for my computer to render. And I still got to transcode these. It should be pretty fast because my computer is pretty powerful. But now I have like 9 to 10 streams that I have to cut off. I've got to cut off the beginning. I've got to cut off the intro music because it'll get copyright stricken for the starting soon music. And then I've got to render them all out. And again, these are all 2 to 3 hour videos, some almost 4 hours. So it's happening. This weekend is when, today's the last day for this week. I'm going to initiate the final downloads of the last 3 days before I leave tonight. I'll probably trim them tomorrow and transcode them tomorrow and try to get them all uploaded on Friday. So you should see them all soon. Once I get the flow right, I'll set up my automation again. And just like last time, I'll have them uploaded right after. I was really good about that last time and uploading it right after. I hear Code Wars is a great place if you don't know what to do. Yes, just like Exorcism, Code Wars is great, and it's intimidating at first, but it's really a great site to help you start to get on the path and get into good thinking principles on how to solve problems. I say Google is wrong. It could be too. It says GIF instead of GIF, so yes, I do agree with you on that one. Even though the creator says it's GIF, the creator of the GIF is wrong. It's GIF. It'll always be GIF. GIF will always be wrong. Always struggle with Code Wars, yes. So that's going to be the goal of the goal of this actually is we're gonna be getting to the point probably again around week 4. We're really diving into Code Wars type problems, and yeah, we're gonna be learning how to code, but we're gonna be learning how to think to solve these kind of problems. And I think it'll make you. I think we'll all be better for it. Coding game. I'll get back onto the coding game. Never heard of that one. Full site to develop your coding skill. Awesome. And I still didn't receive an email. Let me see. Cashfiend TV. Are you in the Cashfiend TV? If you're in the, I'll send you a whisper after this, directly on here. If you're in Slack, send me a Slack message saying you didn't get it as well, or join the Discord, and I'll get you that link. I have a list of people who have to get to right after this. So expect a, yep, I already got you on the Charleston code. I will get you a link. I'll whisper it straight to you here at Twitch. So stick around on Twitch for just a few minutes after this, and yeah, and then we should be good to go. So that's it for tonight. Again, I'm not gonna hold you. We're back on Monday. Monday is Martin Luther King Day. For a lot of people, if you're a federal government worker, and everyone doesn't get off for it, but it is that day. So hopefully people can come by. If not, I understand if you're spending time with your family or going on trips or whatever, but all good. You should be able to watch it afterwards. But yes, Sunday, if you're new to this stream, Sundays and Tuesdays are a DevOps bootcamp. DevOps being a kind of a little bit more advanced of a course that covers a broad set of topics for managing system. We cover the cloud, Linux, etc. And then Mondays and Wednesdays are the introduction to Python. So we'll be diving deeper. If you want to check out the curriculum we were looking at, I'm posting the link in the channel now. Head over to academy.mastermind.io. Click on curriculums. Again, if you know some of this, if you know a lot of this stuff, feel free to not tune in until we get to something you don't know, or check it out. See if you can pick up some additional skills. If you want to check out what goes on in DevOps, you can check out the DevOps curriculum as well. But yeah, that's it. Looks like Coding Garden is on, so if anyone wants to stick around, again, one thing I like to do at the end of the streams is send you all over to other people who are doing things in the same realm, who are coding, who are teaching, and Coding Garden is a cool one. Sometimes I send you guys over to Parmesan or Primogen, or however you say his name. Tonight, we're gonna send you over to Coding Garden because it's a pretty dope channel. And again, you guys should check out, if you have time, you should check out people like this. Immerse yourself into the tech, immerse yourself into the stuff. Like the more and more you surround yourself with it, just hearing people talk about it, all that, you will, the faster you'll be able to pick the stuff up. You'll be able to have conversations about it, all that. So we're gonna go ahead and raid Coding Garden. So raid Coding Garden. All right, so we're gonna head over there. Count down again. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yep, I'm gonna send you the link right now. Everybody who I need to send links to, it's coming to you on Twitch right now. Head over to Coding Garden, say hi, and I'll see you all next week.